Remember when common sense was common? When standing up for what is right was the right thing to do? Welcome to The Right Side. Common sense conversations about Hawaii's political landscape and how it affects you, your ohana, and your community. Join us for the next hour as we cut through the political noise and look at Hawaii from the right side, where public officials and community leaders discuss the policies that affect our future, strategies that move the needle, and highlight leaders that are stepping up to make a difference. Get ready for The Right Side, a common sense conversation.
Hello, everybody. It's Augie. Hi, Malia.
Hi, Augie.
And we have a great show for you guys today. You know, we want to let you guys know that this radio show is live. And I keep saying this because, you know, we want you guys to call in and we want you guys to participate. If you guys have questions on, you know, on the topic that we're talking about, we would love to hear from you. The number 808-913-6450. That's 808-913-6450. Miss Producer, she is ready to take your calls, right? Do I have the thumbs up? Are we ready to go? We are ready to go. And just wanted to, you know, touch on that. You know, a lot of times these radio shows are pre-recorded. Right? We're not going to lie. A lot of the shows on this station, because it's in the mainland, you know, but this show at 4 o'clock, Wednesday, my show, I'm live. Okay, so you have an opportunity to talk story. Okay, so, and that's what we want. We want interaction, and you can do that by calling 808-913-6450. Now, you know, those who serve our country in the military here and overseas and dedicate their life to protecting our freedom deserve our deepest gratitude and respect. And that's the reason why I know that this show is going to be very informative. We have a lot of veterans, a lot of people, you know, that served in the military, a lot of people that's, you know, currently serving in the military, and we want to make sure that we get the kind of support and we provide them with the right kind of support. So, you know, when our soldiers return home from facing the horrors of war, they also deserve our support. And, you know, throughout history, you know, soldiers have felt isolated, abandoned, and unable to cope with trauma. This can lead to a number of problems when returning home, you know, including divorce, depression, substance abuse, homelessness, imprisonment, and suicide. Today, we'll be talking to our good friends at U.S.VETS. And U.S.VETS is a nonprofit that is dedicated to supporting veterans in need of housing, rehabilitation, counseling, career development, and advocacy. So if you served our country, thank you. You know, or you have a friend or a relative who did, you don't want to miss out this show. Malia, you want to introduce our guest today?
Sure. Tamah Lani Noh is the program director at U.S.VETS Barber's Point in Hawaii, bringing over 30 years of experience from her enlisted and commissioned service in the Hawaii Air National Guard and U.S. Air Force. She has championed impact initiatives such as Hawaii Youth Challenge Academy and statewide homelessness engagement efforts, working alongside the National Guard, law enforcement, and government agencies to support veterans, youth, and families. And Tatsu Sasaki is the Development and Communications Manager for U.S.VETS in Hawaii, leading community outreach, fundraising initiatives, and external communications for Barber's Point. Since 2019, he has played a key role in promoting housing and support services for veterans across the Leeward Coast.
Well, thank you guys so much for participating in today's radio show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, you know, we met last week. I learned a lot. You know, I know what you guys are doing out there as a resident of the Leeward side. You know, I know the important job that you guys are doing to take care of our veterans. So I just wanted to say thank you. And, you know, we did have a great conversation.
Absolutely.
And I was so excited by some of the things that you guys want to do that, you know, the next day I just went. In fact, on Saturday, I got the senator from Ever Beach, Senator Favela, and we drove around. Just thinking about what this could look like. You know, how we can help you guys, because you guys do a lot. And it takes a lot to, you know, run an organization like you guys do. So U.S.VETS, it's you know, we know it's a nonprofit, but there you go. Sorry. So let's, no, that's No, it's good. For a lot of you who are not familiar, with U.S.VETS, can you share a little bit about the organization?
Yeah, I'll be the first to talk about this. You know what? My name is Tamah Lani. I am honored to have served, but more importantly, to be in a position of the program director out at U.S.VETS Barbers Point. We have another site too, right? So again, for those on the leeward side is our U.S.VETS Wa'anai.
Mm-hmm.
But we at Barbers Point, we focus mainly on our veterans. And again, the Wa'anai site focuses on our families and our veterans. But I'm just excited to be able to share a little bit about us because we're one of the largest or the largest nonprofit that services veterans. We started in 1993. This is just by the vision of a Judge Ferguson, who started this. He was a retired judge who saw that there were so many veterans on the streets at LA, and he decided to open up what was known as the first U.S.VETS in Inglewood. Since then, we've expanded, right? We're in 40 different sites, and in Hawaii, we got started in 2003. So our Barbers Point site that you drove by, making Maha'oi this past weekend, we got started in 2003, and we're really proud because we have a multitude of different programs at that site, and you've seen some of them. Not only do we have permanent housing, transitional housing, but we also offer wraparound services.
Okay.
So our veterans that come into our program, we have an amazing staff that focuses from intake. So we have guys out in the bushes. Our outreach team goes out and finds, people. Not all of them are veterans. So we do have great partnerships with other shelters and of course, our Wa'anai site to get homeless people that we find, get them serviced into housing. That's our biggest goal. But then again, once we bring them into our program, we have this great opportunity to help them realize that there's hope. Right, that's one of the big values up at U.S.VETS is that we want to instill hope. Mm-hmm. We understand that our veterans have served our country, and we're so proud of them. Again, the spouses that support them through this endeavor of serving too. But I think those that do fall into homelessness for whatever reason, again, whatever it is, we welcome them with wanting to help them to get back on their feet. So through counseling, through putting a roof over their head, right, housing first. We put them into a place that is a bed, a nice hot shower. Mm-hmm. We provide 3 meals a day, and we work with them. So we have amazing staff out at Barbers Point. We have like 70 people that are just focused on our veterans to be able to get them started, to get them back on their feet, to recognize that they are important and how much we really appreciate the sacrifices that they've made. And our goal is to get them permanently housed.
Yeah. You know what's exciting? You're new to this, right? And you just got into it. And, I've known Kim because of, my affiliation with the, AMVETS and,
Kim Cook.
Yeah,
not
Kim
your
Cook.
wife, Kim.
No, not my wife, Kim, but Kim Cook. And,
thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes I think, everybody knows what's going on in my life. But, when I met with you, I was like, oh, man, it's just a fireball. Just ready to, take on the task because it's a big task. I mean, let's talk about, just raising money, getting awareness. That's your job, Tatsu, which is challenging, right?
It is. And especially so many wonderful nonprofits here in Hawaii. I don't like to say that we're competing, but so many people are offering different types of services, mm-hmm. and we are, trying to raise funds in a, small state in comparison to places like California.
Right.
Yeah. So, but we do what we can, and we can't do it without our community support. Augie, you've been out to our facility many times.
Yes.
I mean, even prior to last week,
mm-hmm.
I've been here and I've seen you come by dropping off food and things like that during Thanksgiving. So I know you are very familiar with our work over there.
No, I really appreciate what you guys doing. So let me get back to Tamah Lani. What you like best about, being here new? And then I'm also going to ask you the same question before we dive in, because I want people to get to know you guys, before we jump into, the resources and how, people can get involved, or even how we can get the vets that need the help right now. So tell me, why you love doing this so much.
Okay, I mean, that's simple. I mean, let me tell you, it is just the best job I've ever had. And I can say that. I mean, I've been involved in a lot of different things, but this job gives me the most satisfaction, Augie. I go to work every day. My hair's on fire. Again, you get 28,000 things that you got to do. You got to learn your job. You got to understand the staff. And then you walk around the site, Augie, and you see one veteran who came to you last week, all boros.
Right.
Just not happy. Just doesn't have hope.
For a lot of you who don't know what boros is.
Oh, sorry.
How about bus up? Live in bus up, right?
Bus up, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, and the joy of, they're so hesitant, right? They're so hesitant because they've been out on the street for a while, you know, just trying to make ends meet by just eating. And when they come to us, I mean, you know, we don't feed them the 5-star hotel food, but we feed them good nutritional meals.
Right.
And just giving them a warm place for sleep where they don't have to worry about people taking their things and that kind of stuff. So the most rewarding thing for me is when I get the honor and the privilege of walking on our property and talking to our veterans.
Awesome.
You know, to be able to look them in the eyeball and say, boss, work the program. Do what you got to do. You know, we're here to help you. You know, we can hook you up with financial planning. We can hook you up with the VA. We take you to your doctor's appointments, you know, whatever you need to get better at what you need to be. It's the most rewarding. That, to me, allows me to sleep good at night and wake up the next day at 4 o'clock and do them all over again.
How about you, Tatsu?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, it's got to be feel good that they finally feel safe.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it is, probably.
Malia, you're absolutely right. That's one thing that they say. You know, it's junk outside when you don't know where you're going to sleep or holding your ukanas, your things, you know, to make sure that you have it. And they have, you know, wall lockers. Their personal things can get locked up. They get one hot shower, and we provide them all of that.
Okay, I'll ask Tatsu when we get back from our break. You know, what do you like best about his job? And we'll talk about ways you guys are helping veterans find housing. Okay. Because I think that's the biggest thing that I want to make sure that, you know, we get across today as we talk to U.S.VETS. Malia, you want to add something?
That's really interesting. We've had a lot of discussion on the show about homelessness and how to help people that need homes in Hawaii, and it'll be really fulfilling to hear your stories too. 808-913-6450. It's the right side of Common Sense Conversation, and we're talking with U.S.VETS.
Welcome back to The Right Side with Hawaii public officials and community leaders. Let's get back to Common Sense Conversations.
All right, we're talking U.S.VETS. We have Tamah Lani and Tatsu here. And Malia, if you want to call in and you have a question, or maybe you know of a vet that need help, 808-913-6450. That's 808-913-6450. So, Tatsu, tell me what you like best about your job.
For me, you know, I've been working in nonprofits for over 10 years, and the past, or no, more than that, 13 years, but the past 10 years has been in the social services homeless arena. The past 6 years, you know, has been with U.S.VETS. My brother, he is an Army veteran, and, you know, when I was working with the homeless population, you see folks out there on the street, and then you find out that they're a veteran, and you realize that anybody who has served our nation should not be out there sleeping on the street.
Yes.
And so my passion came towards U.S.VETS and, you know, supporting this organization here. So, you know, just doing what I'm doing to help support the veterans, people who served our nation. It's all the reward I need. And then when I get to meet somebody that we've been able to help get into housing, turn their life around, there's no greater reward than that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate what you guys are doing. So how many vets do we serve here in Hawaii?
On an average, we're looking at about 1,800 in a year period is what goes through our U.S.VETS program. That equates to about 850 households.
Okay.
But again, that's the number that we're...
That's quite a few people that you're helping with really important life things that they need help with.
Yeah, I think one of the things, you know, when we look at those numbers, it's not just homeless veterans that we're helping, but it's the veterans and their families. And one of the things that we also do is prevent them from becoming homeless in the first place. So we have a lot of programs geared towards making sure that they don't end up on the street in the first place. Because once they're on the street, it's so much harder to get them back into housing.
Yeah. So, you know, tell me about some of the challenges that veterans may face, you know, after returning, you know, from serving, or maybe they've been out for a while. You know, what are some of the challenges you guys are hearing? Of course, we all know that to live in Hawaii is a lot already. You know, not only veterans, just locals in general. You know, we're priced out of paradise. But tell us some of the challenges, you know, veterans got to deal with.
I think one of the biggest challenges was coming back and adjusting, right? Again, this is one of the big things for us in U.S.VETS right now is that we've seen a huge decline in veteran population. So like the last point in time count that we had here in Hawaii, we had about 224 veterans that were houseless. Okay. Of course, the number could be a lot higher because it's based upon that point in time count that we do. But again, when prevention is so important, right? Preventing people from becoming homeless, like Tatsu said, it's harder to get them housed. So what we're looking at is, again, ways to prevent that, because we know the next homeless veteran is serving right now. So that's why we want to prevent that. But we notice that once they come out, they have a hard time transitioning, coming out of the military. You got a structured life.
Sure.
You get paid, you're able to do everything, and then all of a sudden, the very next day, you're unemployed. And being able to transition to finding another job, what you're going to do afterwards, and I think that that's one of the biggest challenges. And then, of course, when you have a lot of time, your mind starts wandering. Again, a lot of people turn to drugs and alcohol, right? Your spouses. I mean, there's just so many issues that come with it. That's why they say homelessness is such a complex problem. And again, the price of paradise is a big problem for us. This is why, again, the things that we are doing to help people get rehoused, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But again, what we found here in Hawaii, again, is what's helping them to get there. Right now, when they first come with us, we want to make sure that we get the emotional part, the bare necessities fixed first, and then we can start with the counseling and the case management to get them off to the next level of support into permanent housing.
So what do you think, one of the biggest root cause? Again, I know a lot of people in Hawaii, homeless. So what are you guys looking at? Is it drug abuse? Is it alcohol? Is it, these things that, plaguing our community right now?
Sure, and I think, to blame it on, drugs or alcohol, that's not the focal point of that issue. A lot of our veterans who have been overseas, who have seen battle, come back with that in their mind. They suffer from PTSD, which leads them to the drugs, leads them to the alcohol, and then finding that stability in life. So that is one, a portion of the population that we do see coming through our doors. Recently on Instagram, you shared one of the stories of Sterling Bear, one of the veterans who came through our program. Exactly happened. He saw his best friend die in his arms, and just dealing with that kind of trauma coming back here. It's easy for people on the outside to say, well, why would you turn to drugs? You need something to escape from that, and that's where a lot of folks find it.
Right. And that's why, it's sad when we hear of stories of veterans who, served the country, went away to, protect our safety, protect our freedom. And you find out, man, coming back is just as hard as, serving. And it's sad that, we hear these stories and we see what's happening. So, can you share, maybe share us, how do you transition them to get into a shelter? What is the process? How does that happen?
I think that's another really golden question, Augie. If we knew we wouldn't have the challenges that we have with housing. I think one of the biggest thing is amount of contacts, right? You got to build the relationship.
Sure. You think they've been homeless for a while?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So again, once you get used to being out there, it becomes even harder to put them in housing. Just like Tatsu said, when you've been living on the beach for an extended period of time, you just get so used to that. No hot showers. You eat whatever you're able to get, so you just get so accustomed. But we know better, right? That's not the best way to live, right? So this is what we're seeing. The longer that they're there, that's why we want to make sure we get them sooner. Again, I just got to highlight something that I'm so proud of at U.S.VETS. A lot of our veterans have bad credit. For whatever reason, right? I mean, we have veterans that are living in a stable housing, but because of the housing market, they can't pay their electricity, so they get back on their rent, they get back on their electricity. And then by the time they're reaching out to us, we have a program, called SSVF, which helps them pay their back rent, so that we can keep them in their homes. But again, another big issue is just not being able to find a place.
That's affordable.
Nobody wants to rent to somebody with bad credit, right? And of course, the affordability is another issue. But so we have a master lease program, which is something that I'd never heard about before I got to U.S.VETS, which I'm super thankful that we do this. Is that we as U.S.VETS as an organization we rent homes. We are the leaseholders because our veterans are unable to do that. So then we sublet them to our veterans that we see they progressed, they have income, they're able to be gainfully employed, and now we can transition them into permanent housing because we are the landlords. And it's really, again, so rewarding because we know that they're ready for that. But there's a long process.
Yeah.
So we have workforce, we have income and benefits, just working with them, which is why when people come in, we tell them, work the program. Let us help you, but you got to help us, which is that instilling of hope in them.
Right. Again, you said at the last point I caught about 280. 280. And how do we get to the 280 to build trust? Right?
Yeah.
Because, we have a thing in White Power where we call back with my White Power, and I honestly believe it's kind of the same. You have to be able to, touch these guys. Not more than, 2, 3, 4, where they build trust, where, once we find that opening, we can go, dude, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And when I talk to a lot of them out there in the community, I feel like they lost hope. Because when I ask, are you okay living in the bushes? You okay living here? And they go, oh, no, it's good. We no more rules. And I go, I grew up in public housing. I never like I never like it. I wanted to get out. But the difference was like, I never know I was poor when I was growing up. Never know. I had no idea, my dad then was on Section 8. No idea because it was kept clean, was nice, and was a home. And I go, I have a hard time believing that this is how you live. Because I hate it. As soon as I found out, this is not wow, what happened? How come we don't want the same kind of house like them? Or, we don't want the challenge or the opportunities they have. And I realized, it's just, you cannot tell me you like living like that. And I feel bad for them because I feel like they lost hope.
That's right.
And what you guys are doing and, what a lot of people do is hey, let me just bring hope. Let me bring hope. Let me help you through this process. That's why it's so important that we find the 280. We get them the resources they need because, again, then we got to give them that choice, right? Got to give them that choice to, hey, we're here for you. I don't like that you're out here. Let me give you a safe spot. Let me help you get back on your feet. And, and do the program, like you said.
That's right.
Do the program, yeah?
Yeah, and it's like you said, it is all about that trust. We always say it takes about 7 interactions before they actually kind of trust you and want to come into the program.
Right.
In the meantime, it's just another person coming by,
right,
providing something, but they've been burned by the system.
Sure.
Whoever, that there's just this mistrust. And so we try to be out there. And for our female veterans, it's even worse because they've suffered a lot of more traumatic experiences.
Gosh.
Usually in the military, some type of sexual trauma while they're in the military. So they're even harder to get that kind of trust going.
Yeah.
So, but like you said, we just keep going out there.
Got to.
Yeah.
Got to do whatever we can. And that's why what you guys do is so important. If I can take out 280 homeless residents, and get them the resources they need. We want to do whatever we can because that's 280 people off the streets. And man, you guys are like angels in disguise.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like that many people. We could handle this as a state. We could come together and create this kind of housing. Don't you think, Augie?
Right. I think, again, it takes good people, good heart, and, our community kind of burned out. If you, I've been a public servant now for 5 years. I go to neighborhood boards and they, people complaining hey, we put all that money in. Where's this money going? How come, how come they're not getting the resources? Why are they walking around? It's because, it's challenging times, and we cannot, feel discouraged. We got to be optimistic, get good people that help people get off the streets. And U.S.VETS, it's one of them. I see the producer going, got to wind this up. We'll come back. We'll talk more with U.S.VETS, 808-913-6450. It's the right side, a common sense conversation.
Welcome back to The Right Side with Hawaii public officials and community leaders. Let's get back to common sense conversations.
Tamah Lani, I just hate wasteful spending. Just so you guys don't touch it. So, when I see nonprofits like yourselves, that's getting help federally, but I'm like, how do I find way to really help you guys because I know what you guys do works. you know? And so it's just, for me, frustrating as a public servant. I don't call myself a politician because I ran because of a calling. I never go, okay, I go to school, I go learn policy, I'm going to be a politician. No, I was like everybody else. I was driving, and one day I went, why are there so much homeless people? When I was growing up, your teachers all told you, sitting in my class, you are the future. And at that time, when I was, I'm not going to tell, I'm 50. How old am I, Malia?
57.
I'm 57 years old. Right? When I was sitting in school, Tatsu, Tamah Lani Noh, I was sitting in school, we heard that, right? Yeah. And maybe in our neighborhood had one homeless guy that we all knew, that we all took care of. We all get them in every neighborhood. So, the future that we're sitting there saying, the people that are saying, man, to our future, then why things are so messed up if things are supposed to be getting better? I'm an adult driving to work, mad. Why my parents got to live with me? Why nobody's riding the train? Why is there homeless people? Why my children might not be able to buy a home? That's why I ran. Wow. So when I see nonprofits like yourself, and there's a lot of great nonprofits going above and beyond to put really a Band-Aid on a problem. Yeah. It's just so, for me, oh boy. Because I know deep down inside, there's a lot of people that want to help. There's a lot of people that's optimistic that know things can change, and making big steps, stepping out of the box and doing what you guys do is so important. Okay. All right, I'm done. I'm good. What's your question, Malia?
Well, Augie always has to ask me.
I'm sorry. I just, because I know you guys are like, asking and pleading, and like, man.
That's passion, Augie. That's passion.
Sorry.
I think that's what keeps us going and doing what we do, because we
guys
believe,
will have
like you.
3 more years of passion, and that's it for me. Okay, Malia.
Well, Tatsu, we could get more into it later. His comment about fundraising or money, because I was a fundraiser at one time, and you can never have enough funds because you always want to do more projects, right?
Correct.
We can talk more about that later. I got you, Tatsu. I got you. But okay, so one of the questions that I had was, we always hear about PTSD. We see movies about it, documentaries about it, and so on. And mental health, just generally mental health is important for everybody. But when you've gone through trauma like that, it's really difficult. So does your organization help veterans with that? Or how are they able, if somebody's a veteran right now listening, going through some kind of trauma, how did they get help from you?
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and just simply start with, we're so fortunate. Again, Augie talked about Dr. Kim Cook. She's a VP for clinical services for U.S.VETS National. Again, and she's our local girl, right? So super proud of the fact that we have the VP of Clinical Services up at the National U.S.VETS, because it trickles down.
And she's based here, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like Darryl Vincent, they're both here, and we're just so fortunate that we have that kind of leadership that allows them to do that. But I think what's exciting about it is that we have clinical staff on board with us. So we got a director of behavioral health, we got case managers, our staff I had mentioned is, 70 strong. So we got a staff of 70 committed individuals. But again, included in that is not only our behavioral health staff or our case management staff, just having the workforce development team that looks and touches them in so many different areas. But when you're talking about mental health, we just got to start right where they're at. And that's what our team is super good at. We take our veterans right where they're at, and we help them, walk them through the process of being able to, when you're ready, let's go ahead and look for a job. Let's fix up your resume. Let's get you nice clothes to do that. That's our workforce team. We got a income and benefits team, again, and they're working with them. The more people that you're engaged with, again, if you're hesitant in the beginning, the more people that come alongside of you, it breaks down these barriers, right? Again, and if they're identifying other mental health issues, then of course we'll bring it back to our clinical staff. But we walk alongside with the VA because that's the people that are paying for their benefits, right? So we want to make sure that that's in alignment with that. So they get, our veterans are fortunate because there's people that are looking at the whole veteran, each one of them, one by one, to make sure that they are getting the pieces that they need. Yes, all of them need help in increasing their income. Yes, all of them need help with applying for jobs. Those are so many of the benchmarks that we look at to make sure that they're progressing through the program to, again, our end goal of having them permanently housed. Again, I got to brag about our aftercare program because these are our clinicians who actually meet with the client once they're permanently housed to make sure that they're okay. Again, it's really easy to get housed, right? But it's a matter of staying there because, again, when you're living in an environment for so long, people got to check on you. And that's the fellowship and the camaraderie that comes from a lot of our clients living together initially.
You guys had the first Kauhale.
I know.
I remember when that opened up, and when I went drive by there last week, I was like so impressed. And you guys are making it work. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
First of all, for people that don't know, that haven't been to a Kauhale, what is a Kauhale? And how are you doing it, right? How are you making that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Kauhale Kamaoku was put in place by then Lieutenant Governor Josh Green. And it's basically 36 individual tiny homes, 10 by 12 individual units with a community kitchen, community restroom, and facilities for formerly homeless individuals. And so that opened up back in late 2020, and we've been running it ever since. Getting people off the streets or from the shelters into these permanent housing, and they are permanent housing for these individuals, so they can stay there for as long as they want. We hope that they don't. We want them to move on to maybe an apartment or something else, which a lot of our folks have, which is great. And so that is kind of like the model that we want to.
Right.
But if they want to stay there as long as they can until they can get to that point, they're welcome to stay
Cool,
there.
because a lot of us hear about Kauhale. Is there any success story that you guys want to share about a Kauhale and how somebody went from that to permanent housing elsewhere?
Oh, it happens all the time, Augie.
See, that's the
Yeah.
beautiful part. Like, it's working.
Yeah. But again, I mean, when you're looking at specifically at our Kahale, again, it's amazing. The community has therapeutic communities, so they're responsible for the daily upkeep of it. Us as U.S.VETS, we just monitor, right? We monitor the staff, but at the same time, we provide case management as necessary. So this goes back to your question, Malia. We have interns that are there on site that are offering services, free services, to help them with this. And this is for our Kauhale clients. We do the same for our GPD clients, but I think of this one guy that's in the Kauhale now. I'm not going to say his name, but I protect his anonymity. But he's amazing. Wakes up in the morning, to tend the grass, helps us to clean out the units, paints them. And I said, "What, bro? When you move out?" He goes, "I don't like. I like it here. I like the community. I like the way we live. Again, the rent is pretty. It's pretty reasonable, right? But
sure.
He likes this communal living. And again, he pays his rent on time, he's like the Luna of this place.
Right.
And it works.
It's amazing how, if you build a good community,
That's
right? Man, cannot beat that.
No, you cannot. And then we have others that have actually moved into permanent housing because it's 10 by 10,
Sure.
10 by 12.
No, I get it, yes.
And plus it's a little hot in Kalailo, so again, we have fans and, we provide them with the refrigerator, but sometimes they just want to be able to move on, and we help them with that. Again, if this is what you want to be better, we can help you with that.
So you guys got to know, it's not only vets. You guys help, like you said, a lot, vets with family members or even people who need the help. I think that's the thing a lot of people don't know. When you see U.S.VETS, they think, oh, I'm going to be a veteran. But you guys help more than just veterans, right?
Yeah. And that's what makes it, again, this is why I get the best job, right? Telling you. We do. I mean, our Waianae site serves families, couples. Again, at our Barber's Point site, we're a little bit limited because of the focus. It's a different program. So at our Waianae site, they have animals, service animals are allowed there so they can take that. Again, that came about with the opening of the Kauhale in 2020 something, yeah. So it's been a while, but that was Governor Lingo's initiative, right, to go ahead and open this up.
Oh, you mean the Waianae site?
The Waianae site.
Sorry, 2000.
Right, just yeah.
And that's the one right next to Waianae High School, right?
Waianae High School.
Yeah,
right.
when it first opened up, I went there to do comedy, believe it or not,
Nice.
on a Thanksgiving day.
See?
Yeah, and will find a time where I can go to the U.S. Vets at Kalaeloa. I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
That might be a cool thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, come.
Yeah.
People got to laugh.
Yeah. You know what? Having you there, we would sell tickets and we make money.
There you go. We can sell some tickets. How's that?
Tatsu's area.
No, I mean, but this is where, again, I kid you not, we look at any other way to do
Sure.
this because, again, it is a great cause. But, again, we do service, again, families that get couples, dogs on that side. At Kalaeloa, we're real focused on the veterans. And, again, this is what keeps them committed. Our women population, we're always 100%, like Tatsu had said. We have the room in partnership with HCAP. So they live across the way, right? But again, 7 women individual rooms that we can, same services, just a different location. But we're always running 100%, 90% capacity because the need is great. I would love a new house that could take them all. I like when...
There you go. Put it out there.
Right.
Somebody might want to donate a house.
I want a holiday that we can just have women veterans that, again, a little bit biased, right?
Sure.
I'm a
but
little
that's
bit
okay.
biased, but
That's
I think
all right.
our women just deserve a special place that we would be able to do something like that. That's our U.S.VETS next project. But
Okay.
great idea.
That was one of our questions, Augie, was what is your vision? How would you like to see expansion? But
When we come back, we're going to give you guys all the information on how you can help a U.S. Vets. And that's Tatsu's specialty right there, right?
That's right.
Right? So if you are, you're pulled in by the conversation and you go, wow, there's something I can support. Hold on. We'll tell you guys how you can do that. 808-913-6450. It's the right side, a common sense conversation.
Welcome back to The Right Side with Hawaii public officials and community leaders. Let's get back to Common Sense Conversations.
All right, 808-913-6450. We have the U.S. Vets here. We're talking with Tamah Lani and Tatsu for the last, can you believe it? Almost an hour already. And time flies when you do these kind of radio shows. And, we want to try to get as much information as we can. And we've been talking about homelessness with veterans. And, we want to see if we can get you guys to help out. U.S. Vets is a nonprofit, so you do accept donations. And if so, how do people can donate to the organization? And what are other ways they can support your mission?
Yeah, absolutely. If they wanted to make a donation online, they could go to our website, usvets.org. Very simple. Choose Barber's Point or Waianae, our Hawaii locations. Keep those donations here local because 100% of that donation does stay here locally. They could give me a call. I'll give you my number, 808-271-7022. Don't call me now because, we're live right now.
You should blow up his phone
leave
right
a message
now.
if you do call.
So that, we know that you guys are listening, right?
Absolutely. Or you can call our main line, 808-672-2977, and leave a message there. And then we can get you details if you want. If you're old school, you want to mail a check or something like that, you can mail it out. I'll give you the address and everything.
Yeah, no.
And what about organizations that want to partner with you? Do you ever look for partnerships? Do you have partnerships? And what kinds of partnerships are you looking for?
Yeah, definitely. We couldn't do what we do here without all the great partnerships we have with local, companies, businesses, and foundations, and just individuals here. They can, again, contact me to find out different ways to partner up. We do fundraising events every year, 2 times a year. Coming up in the fall, we have our annual golf tournament. So if any golfers out there, go to our website. You can see the golf information.
Yeah, who wants to, take a day off from work?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And knowing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey,
I'll go
help
be in the back
community.
and help. I don't have to golf because nobody wants to see that.
That's right. So, if you guys had one thing to ask from the community to get some support, for your organization, what would that be?
I think for us, it's to help build that awareness about U.S. Vets. We're a medium-sized nonprofit. We are a national nonprofit, but a lot of times I'll get a call like, "U.S. Vets, are you helping animals?" We're like, "We're not veterinarians. We're helping veterans." And things like that. So, we're not a household name. So, if you want to help veterans, give us a call. Reach out to us. We take we have different volunteer opportunities out there that they can take part in. Or if they know homeless veterans, get them in touch with us so we can help them get off the street.
Okay, Tamah Lani?
Yeah, I do want to add, because I don't know, when we met the other day, you had mentioned this organization called The Pantry. So I throw your name out there, and you know
Nice.
what? I was able to talk to Rob, and we were
awesome.
able
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
establish an amazing partnership.
Okay.
Because at U.S.VETS, we know better, right? You know, we know that we can't do this alone. We know that we don't want to be 80% federally funded. We need to diversify our funding opportunities, and partnerships is key. So we're always looking for partners. So again, with the pantry, I'm so excited because we'll be able to get snacks for our guys, food for our veterans and
right
our
on.
families. But again, it was because you mentioned the pantry, right? And then we're able to say, "Oi, Augie told me."
That's good. I mean, they run a really, tight ship organization, but I know they have the heart to want to, serve more than what they're doing right now. So, when we had that conversation, just like you, my brain is going 150 miles per hour. I'm like, how do we, partner up so that, they can reach out, because they really want to try to get out to
Absolutely.
our side of the island, right?
So we just made that connection, and this is what I think is something that we're really proud of. Again, it is partnerships. We want to establish partnerships with other businesses, other organizations that want to help veterans, because we're open 24 hours. So we have a bunch of great volunteers that come out on weekends. They do bingo and play games and just fellowship with our veterans,
Right.
and they just love it because this instills the hope.
Yeah.
Right? This is where, again, the veterans soon realize that it's not just the people that are employees. These are people from the outside really mahalo them for what they've done. So, yes, partnerships is a really big part of that.
Well, in terms of if you could address the veterans directly, or a veteran directly who needs services, what would you tell them? How would you tell them it's okay to come in, or pitch it to them that they should come in to get help from you?
I think it's a simple way of letting them know if they're tired of being tired, again, of the way that they are living. A lot of them couch surf too, right? You stay at your auntie's house and then you go to another house. So to get into a program, or to get into a facility that people care about you and want to help you to better that. That's what we are there for. Anybody, if might not be ready right now, but come and at least check us out, and we'll be able to at least feed you, do something with you. Because again, when the time is right, you'll know. They get a lot of our veterans, by the time they come to our door, they're just tired already. This veteran last week just said that, thank you. I've been out on the street for almost 3 years, and I'm tired, and I'm 68 years old. I'm tired. So this is what we're seeing, right? Older veterans, higher acuity, so I'm just tired. And I say, well, praise God, you're tired. We will help you. Yeah. And again, we don't turn them away, because somebody's got to do it. If not us, then who? And I think that's something at U.S.VETS we really pride ourselves on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, okay. If you guys want to donate to U.S.VETS or get involved as a sponsor or volunteer, you can call 808-271-7022. Okay, that's 808-271-7022 to help this great organization. Any final thoughts before we say bye?
I always got to say something. I just mahalo. I just really appreciate the opportunity to come on this show, to be able to tell a little bit about what we do, because we just need people to know, if you have a heart for homeless veterans, homeless people, homeless dogs, again, that we want to be able to hook you up with the right organization, right, whether it be our Wa'anai side or even outside agencies, because we work all together. Same problem, big problem. We have this idea of being able to help everybody that's out there. So thanks for that opportunity.
No, thank you, guys. You'll be able to listen to the whole thing and watch the thing on YouTube. Right, Malia?
Watch the whole show on our YouTube channel.
Watch it on YouTube. Tatsu, thank you so much for coming by. Tamah Lani, U.S.VETS, thank you. Who's coming out next week?
That is being formatted right now.
Surprise!
It'll be a surprise show.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week.
We have some invitations out. Let's say that.
All right. Okay, cool.